They're good.
I'm sorry.
They're good.
Okay. This is a little history of the West Dunkirk Volunteer Fire Company. A lot of it I remember. There's some that I don't. We were had an organizational meeting on March 2nd, 1951 at the Shorewood Country Club, and the motto, "Ever ready to assist in any emergency," was adopted. The certificate of incorporation was received on March 19th, 1951, and our first elected officers were as follows: President J. McNally, Vice President Noel McCroskey, Secretary Earl Vaughn, Treasurer Charlie Hoke, Chief was Louis Van Way, First Assistant Chief was Donald Drummond, Second Assistant Chief was Castle Sam, and the three directors were Richard Van Scoter, Ralph Schoenthal, and Ray Gunther. And Father Rupert of the Holy Cross Seminary offered a barn to house a fire truck temporarily, and several of the priests joined the department and responded to calls. Also in March of 1951, our first call was for a barn fire on Temple Road. East Dunkirk answered the call for help, and by aid of their equipment was able to save the surrounding buildings, but the barn was a total loss. I don't know what barn that was. In June of 1951, a system was set up to call members to fires based on a party line system, and I'm sure some of you may remember that. That was before we had radios and mutual aid. Also in the summer of 1951, construction was begun on our 45-foot by 60-foot fire hall, which had 2 vehicle stalls and a meeting area. Now, in September 1951, a 5-year contract for fire protection was negotiated for $2,300 for the first year and $2,500 for the remaining 4 years. Correction. In March 1952, our fire truck was moved to the new fire hall. And during this time, the Ladies Auxiliary was very active and raised money to put towards building construction, the kitchen, fire equipment, and numerous other projects. Over the years, we've had a lot of different equipment, and a brief list is: in the summer of 1951, a second-hand 1936 GMC 500-gallon-minute pumper was purchased through Young Firefighting Equipment of Buffalo. This was our very first truck. And in July of 1953, a 1923 Aaron's Fox ladder truck was purchased from the city of Dunkirk. In 1956, we bought a 750-gallon-minute pumper from the John Bean Company to replace the Aaron's Fox truck. This truck carried 750 gallons of water. In 1973, a used Chevy pickup truck was purchased, and the fire department members converted to M121, our first rescue truck. Then on November 15th, 1979, we bought a 1979 American LaFrance 1,000-gallon-minute pumper that carried 1,000 gallons in a pump of water. And I can remember Bill and I going down to look at that truck. On January 25th, 2000, we purchased a 1980 1,500-gallon-minute American LaFrance pumper from the village of Lakewood. It was completely refurbished and placed in service in May that year, and this was our first diesel vehicle. On September 17th, 2002, Marty Garvey made contact with New York State representatives and was able to obtain a 1989 Ford ambulance from the state inventory. That's presently our Rescue 121. And on May of 2007, the department purchased a new 1,250-gallon-minute pumper tanker from E1, and that carries 3,000 gallons of water. And a few other notes, very brief. In 1980, an addition of 14 by 13 feet was built onto the side of the fire hall to house an emergency generator, which had been donated by the Passionist Fathers of Holy Cross Seminary. And in the fall of 2000, a 50 by 60 foot addition to the back of the fire hall was begun. This has provided for a new kitchen, meeting room, and another stall and wash area. The fire bell that rang from the top of Holy Cross Seminary for many years was given to the West Dunkirk Fire Company. Dedication of the bell was held on September 7th, 1981, and the bell is on a special stand in front of the fire hall. A few of our fire calls, our major fire calls, on December 26, 1972, there was a house fire at the Camp East residence, corner of Willow and Temple Roads, and it was one of the hardest things I ever did to drive by that fire, to get over to the fire hall and respond with an engine. On August 27, 1978, we had an explosion at Salmon Sons that destroyed a packing house. And then I got my first helicopter ride as they looked to see how far the insulation had been spread, and it went way over to the Pro House on Shorewood Country Club. On January 4th, 1979, there was a train derailment at the Temple Road crossing. And on September 15th, 1997, there was another train derailment at the Temple Road crossing. And I was just starting to teach an EMT class, and Tony and the others looked at me when I got up and they said, "Oh, it won't be anything." And just a little bit later, they were toned out also. August 26 and 2006, our really major fire at A. Salmon Sons that had 30 fire departments responding from 2 states and 4 counties. And final remark, it's estimated in our 60 years of service we've responded to over 3,000 calls for help.